I'm tired of being the strong friend. And not because I don't love people, not because I don't want to show up, not because I don't care, but because somewhere along the way, being strong turned into being expected. Expected to figure it out, expected to be fine, expected to hold it together, to give advice, to bounce back, expected to not need too much, expected to be the one everybody can lean on, even when I am quietly looking around like, okay, but who do I lean on? And I think a lot of ambitious women know exactly what that feels like. You become so good at surviving that people forget survival still costs you something. You become so dependable that people stop asking if you need anything. You become so capable that your exhaustion becomes invisible. And today I want to talk about that. Not from a bitter place, but from an honest place because strong women need support too. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kiara Ivy, aka Kiara the Concrete Rose, aka your lifestyle design bestie. And around here, we talk about lifestyle design, adulting, soft life strategy, singlehood, child-free living, location independence, and personal growth, and just building a life that actually serves the person that you are today. And today we're talking about being the strong friend, the one who always has the advice, the one who always sees the pattern, the one who can make a plan, the one who can hold space, the one who people call when their life is in shambles because they know you will somehow help make sense of it. And listen, there is beauty in being strong. There is beauty in being wise and in being someone that people can trust. But there is also a shadow side to being seen as strong all the time. Because if people only know you as capable, they may not know what to do when you are hurting, right? If people only know you as the one who handles things, they may not notice when you are completely overwhelmed. And if you have built your identity around being low maintenance or easy to deal with and just emotionally self sufficient, you may accidentally teach people that you do not need to be checked on. That part is wildly uncomfortable because sometimes we are mad that nobody shows up for us, but we also have to ask, have I allowed people to know that I need support? Or have I been performing I'm fine so convincingly that even I started to believe it? Let's talk about it. Because I don't think that most people wake up and decide, you know what? I would love to be everyone's emotional support system while quietly neglecting my own needs. That is usually not the plan, right? A lot of times the strong friend role happens gradually. You were the responsible one, the mature one, the one, who could handle things, the one people came to because you have the best advice, the one who stayed calm in the midst of chaos, the one who could survive difficult seasons and still somehow show up polished enough that people assumed that you were okay, right? And over time, people started treating your strength like a permanent resource, right? Like Wi-Fi, like AC, like something that is, just supposed to be available when they need it, right? And because you love people, you showed up because that is just what you do. You helped, you listened, you gave the thoughtful response, you stayed on the phone way past your bedtime. You sent a whole paragraph, a 10-minute voice note. You checked in. You remembered the details. You held the emotional weight. And at first, it may have, felt good to be needed, right? There's that sense of altruism that we feel when we do something good for other people. It may have felt good to be trusted. It may have felt good to just know that people saw you as solid, right? But eventually, if you are not careful, being needed can turn into being used as a landing place for everyone else's emotional overflow. And that is when strength starts to feel less like a gift and more like a job that you never applied for, that you're definitely not getting paid for. Now, let me be clear. This is not about blaming people for loving us or needing us. Relationships require support, right? Friendships requires showing up. Community requires care. But care has to move both ways. If everybody gets to fall apart with you, but you have nowhere to fall apart safely, that is not connection. That is emotional labor. And I know you're tired. I'm tired. We're tired. Okay. One of the hardest parts about being the strong friend is that competence can hide exhaustion. People see that you are functioning, so they assume you're fine. You answered the text. You went to work. You paid the bill. You handled the emergency. You made the decision. You posted content that day. You made a joke. You gave advice. So people think, oh, she must be good, right? But functioning is not the same thing as being okay. Sometimes functioning just means you know how to keep moving while you're tired. You clearly know how to compartmentalize. Sometimes functioning means you have been in survival mode long enough to just make it look organized, if we're being honest. Sometimes functioning means you are breaking down in small, private ways that nobody can see. You can be productive and still be in pain. You can be responsible and still be resentful. You can be helpful and still be heavy, right? You can be the person that everyone calls and still wish somebody would call you first. And that is where the strong friend role gets really dangerous because people rarely worry about the person who keeps performing capacity. They worry about the person who visibly falls apart. But what about the woman who falls apart quietly? What about the woman who cries in the car, fixes her face, and then walks into the room like nothing happened? Been there? I know I'm not talking to myself. What about the woman who is exhausted but still answers, I'm good, because explaining the truth feels like yet another task? It's exhausting to even think about the truth. What about the woman who is so used to being the solution that she does not know how to ask for the support without feeling dramatic? That woman needs care too. And sometimes that woman is us, sis. Yes. Now let's talk about independence because for a lot of single, ambitious women, independence is both a blessing and a trap. It is a blessing because you know how to handle your business, right? You can make decisions, you can provide for yourself, you can figure things out. You can move through the world with a certain level of freedom because you're not waiting for someone to give you permission. I love that. I love that for us. Okay. But independence can become isolation when you start believing that needing people makes you weak. And that is where a lot of strong women get stuck because we say things like, "Oh, I've got it. I'll figure it out. It's fine. No worries. I don't want to bother anybody." And before you know it, we have built an entire emotional life around not being a burden to people. Having needs does not make you a burden. Being honest does not make you needy. Asking for support does not cancel your strength. Letting someone help you does not mean you failed the independent woman exam. Okay? You can be independent and still need community, folks. You can be strong and still need softness. You can be capable and still need someone to say, I've got you this time. I've got you. That is not weakness. That is being human. And honestly, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop pretending you do not need anything. Because performing needlessness will have you surrounded by people and still feeling alone. That is the part. You can have friends, family, the group chats, followers, coworkers, subscribers, people who know and love you, and still feel lonely if nobody knows the real weight that you're carrying. Not because they don't care, right? It's because you never let them see it. That does not mean it is all your fault either, but it does mean that you may have more power than you think to change the pattern. Because at some point, the strong friend has to retire from over functioning, not retire from being loving, not retire from being supportive or being wise, but just retire from being the emotional headquarters for everybody else while your own needs are sitting in the lobby waiting to be acknowledged. Just doesn't even make any sense. Overfunctioning is when you do more than your part because you are trying to keep everybody stable and everything stable. You anticipate needs before people ask. You solve problems that are not yours. You manage other people's emotions. You smooth things over. You explain, you fix, rescue, remind, carry, accommodate. And then you wonder why you're tired. Because you are not just living your life, you are helping everybody else regulate theirs. That is expensive, emotionally expensive, spiritually expensive, energetically expensive. And the bill always comes due, usually in the form of resentment, because resentment is often a sign that you have been given from a place where a boundary was absolutely needed. That does not mean you're a bad person. It doesn't. And it doesn't mean that the person that you were helping is a bad person either. It means something is out of balance, out of harmony. So if you are tired of being the strong friend, the answer is not to become cold, right? It is not to stop caring. It is not to disappear and call it healing. The answer is to become more honest about your limits. Instead of automatically saying yes, pause. Instead of answering every crisis call, ask yourself if you actually have the capacity to deal with this. Instead of giving advice that nobody asked to actually apply, protect your energy. Instead of pretending you are okay, tell the truth to someone who has earned access to it. You do not have to announce a new personality. You can simply start changing your participation. That is how you retire from overfunctioning. You just do it quietly, consistently, without a press release. It's not necessary, right? So this is where soft life comes into the conversation, because soft life is not just about rest, luxury, travel, candles, and saying no. Soft life is about receiving. I had to learn this. It's about receiving help, receiving care, tenderness, receiving those check ins, receiving without immediately trying to repay it, explain it, minimize it, or prove that you deserved it. And for some of us, that is extremely hard because we are more comfortable being needed than being known. We are more comfortable being useful than being vulnerable. We're more comfortable supporting than receiving support. So when someone finally asks, "Are you okay?" we don't even know how to answer honestly. We laugh it off. We say, "Girl, I'm hanging in there." Or we'll change the subject or make a joke, right? We become motivational or something. Now suddenly we are encouraging them through our own crisis. No, At some point, softness has to include letting yourself be cared for. And I know that can feel risky, right? Because maybe you have asked for support before and were sorely disappointed, right? Maybe you have opened up and somebody mishandled you. Maybe you learned early that needing too much made people uncomfortable. Maybe you became strong because strength was safer than vulnerability at that time. I get that. I really, really, really do. But the answer cannot be to never need anything again. The answer is to become more discerning about who gets access to your need. Everybody does not deserve your vulnerability, but somebody does. You need people in your life who do not only love the version of you that performs well. You need people who can sit with the version of you that is unsure, tired, confused, tender, quiet, not immediately solution oriented. You need people who do not require you to be inspirational in order to be loved. That's support, real support. And strong women need that. So, what do we do with all of this, right? Because I don't want this to just be a strong friend is tired vent session, even though honestly, a little venting is sometimes part of the healing journey, right? But practically, I want you to try something this week. Choose one safe person and tell them the truth earlier than you normally would. Not after you've hit the wall, not after you have cried 3 times and convinced yourself you're being dramatic, not after you have already handled it alone. I want you to tell them earlier. Say something simple like, I'm actually having a hard week. I don't need advice, but I could use some support. Can you check on me tomorrow? I don't have the capacity to talk about this right now. I just need somebody to listen to me. I don't need a fix. That is a small shift, but it matters. Because if you are used to hiding your needs, direct language will feel awkward at first. Do it anyway. Awkward does not mean wrong. It just means it's unfamiliar to you. It's unfamiliar, uncharted territory. Also, I want you to practice asking yourself before you show up for someone else, do I have capacity for this? Can I listen without resenting them? Am I helping because I want to or because I feel responsible for their emotions? What do I need right now? Those questions can interrupt the automatic strong friend response, right? So if you are tired of being the strong friend, I want you to know this. You are allowed to need support. You're allowed to not have all the answers. You're allowed to say, I do not have the capacity for this today. You are allowed to say, not today, Satan, not today. Okay? You can be capable and competent and all those things and still need somebody's help. So you can stop making your resilience available on demand because strength should be part of who you are, right? It should not be the price you pay to be loved. And maybe the next version of your soft life is not just about doing less. Maybe it's about carrying less on your own. Maybe it's about like letting people see the truth sooner. Maybe it's about building relationships where support moves both ways. Maybe it's about finally retiring from being everybody's emergency contact while your own heart is sitting on hold. That's the work. So I want to know, are you a strong friend? And if you are, what is the one thing that you are tired of carrying by yourself? Drop it in the comments. And if this conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and stick around because we are going to keep talking about lifestyle design, adulting, soft life strategy, singlehood, child-free living, geo arbitrage, personal growth and development, and just designing your absolute best life. Because around here, we are not just building lives that look good. We're building lives where we do not have to be the strong one every second of the day. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.